The baby was crying again, but no one else could hear it. Emily froze in the middle of the hallway, clutching her blanket tight to her chest. The sound came from the old baby monitor sitting on her dresser, soft at first, then growing louder, sharper, like it was begging for help. "Mom," she whispered. Her mom didn't answer. She was asleep in the next room. Emily could hear her steady breathing through the thin wall. No one else in the house was awake. But the monitor kept crying. It was the same cry she'd heard every night for a week, a cry that didn't belong to any baby she knew. It was too desperate, too real. Emily's heart pounded. The red light on the monitor flickered even though it wasn't plugged in. Then, through the static, a voice whispered, not crying this time, but words. Small, shaky words. "Why did you leave me?" Emily dropped the blanket. Her breath caught in her throat. The voice came again, clearer now. "Why did you leave me in the dark?" Her hand shook as she reached for the monitor. The air around her grew colder, and the shadows in her room stretched, almost like they were moving closer. The crying started again, louder, followed by something she'd never heard before. Laughter. Soft baby laughter. But it wasn't coming from the monitor anymore. It was coming from the corner of her room. Emily turned her head slowly and froze. There in the moonlight was a tiny shadow sitting on the floor, the shape of a baby, but twisted, like its head tilted the wrong way. The crying and laughter mixed together in a horrible sound that made her skin crawl. Emily opened her mouth to scream, and the monitor went dead. Static. Silence. Nothing. Then she heard footsteps outside her door. She waited, holding her breath. The handle turned, slowly, creaking. Her mom's voice came softly through the crack. "Emily, are you okay? Who are you talking to?" Emily's eyes were still locked on the shadow in the corner. It was gone. She turned back toward the door, but her mom was already standing there, frowning. "What's wrong?" Emily pointed to the corner, her voice shaking. "The baby, there was a baby." Her mom blinked, confused. "Emily, there's no baby here." The monitor light blinked once more, bright red, and a small voice whispered through it. "She can't hear me." That was the first night, and it was only the beginning. Because the next day, Emily realized something strange. Every time she was alone, the baby started crying again. In the kitchen, at school, even on the bus. No one else could hear it. No one believed her. But every cry sounded closer. Emily didn't know it yet, but the baby's voice wasn't just calling for her. It was coming for her. And the next time she'd hear it, it wouldn't be through the monitor. It would be right behind her. The first time the baby cried at school, Emily thought she was losing her mind. It was lunchtime and the cafeteria buzzed with noise, kids laughing, trays clattering, teachers talking. But somewhere between the chatter and the scrape of chairs, she heard it again, that same soft, broken cry. It cut through the noise like a knife. Emily froze with her spoon halfway to her mouth. Nobody else seemed to notice. Her best friend, Kayla, was talking about a new phone app, completely unaware. "Did you hear that?" Emily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Kayla frowned. "Hear what?" "The baby," Emily said, her eyes darting around the room. "Someone's baby is crying." Kayla laughed. This is a middle school, not daycare. There's no baby here." Emily didn't answer. The sound was getting louder. Now it seemed to be coming from under the table. Her heart pounded. She leaned down, trembling, and peeked beneath the bench. Nothing, just shoes, crumbs, and shadows. But when she straightened up, her tray rattled. The milk carton was shaking, like something had bumped the table hard from underneath. Then, faintly, she heard it again. "Why did you leave me?" Emily dropped her spoon. Her face went pale. The voice wasn't in the cafeteria anymore. It was inside her ear. She stood up, so suddenly her chair screeched across the floor. Every head turned toward her. Kayla frowned. "Emily, what's wrong?" Emily backed away, clutching her ears. "You don't hear it? You really don't hear the crying?" Kayla blinked. "Emily, there's no crying." But there was. It was echoing now, bouncing off the walls, distant and close at the same time. She could almost feel the air move like the sound had weight. "Make it stop," Emily whispered. "Please make it stop." Then, suddenly, silence. The whole cafeteria seemed to hold its breath. Everyone was staring at her. The lunch monitor walked over, frowning. "Emily, are you feeling okay?" Emily nodded weakly, even though her hands were still shaking. I think so." The woman's tone softened. "Maybe you should visit the nurse, sweetie." Emily didn't argue. She just wanted to get out of that room. The nurse's office was quiet. Too quiet. The walls smelled like antiseptic, and the ticking clock was the only sound. The nurse, Mrs. Hanley, gave her a small smile. "Headache." Emily hesitated. "Sort of." Mrs. Hanley handed her a cup of water and went to the back room to check a chart. Emily sipped slowly, staring at the little radio on the counter. It looked old, like something from her grandma's attic. She tried not to think about the baby, tried to breathe. Then, without warning, the radio clicked on. Static. Emily froze. Her throat went dry. The volume knob turned by itself. Through the crackle, a baby started to cry. "Mrs. Hanley?" Emily called, her voice trembling. No answer. "Mrs. Hanley," she said louder, standing up. The back room door creaked open. Empty. The radio static deepened, the crying turning into something else. Wet, choked gas that made Emily's stomach twist. Then, just like before, a whisper. "You left me in the dark." Emily backed away until she hit the wall. The radio speakers hissed louder, and then it spoke again, only this time in a woman's voice. "You were supposed to come back for me." Emily's hand hit the doorknob. She yanked it open and screamed. Mrs. Hanley stood there, but her eyes were blank. Her mouth opened, and the same baby cry came out her throat. Emily stumbled backward, knocking the radio to the floor. It shattered, and everything went silent. The nurse blinked. "Emily, are you okay?" Her voice was normal again. She looked confused, as if nothing had happened. Emily couldn't speak. She just stared at the broken radio pieces scattered on the tile. Mrs. Hanley followed her gaze and frowned. "Did you drop that?" Emily didn't answer, because among the shattered plastic, something glimmered, a small silver bracelet, tiny enough for a baby's wrist, and engraved on it were 4 words that made Emily's blood run cold. "I'll find you soon." That night, Emily couldn't sleep. The crying kept echoing in her mind, that tiny, broken sound that seemed to crawl beneath her skin. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the nurse's face again, mouth open, that awful baby wail spilling out of it. It had to be a dream. It had to be. But the bracelet was real. She'd hidden it in her desk drawer, wrapped in tissue paper. Every time she glanced at it, the silver seemed to shimmer, like it was breathing. The word still burned in her head. "I'll find you soon." She didn't know who I was. She didn't know who the baby could be. But she couldn't stop thinking about it. The next morning, Emily decided to ask her mom about the bracelet. Her mom was standing at the counter, pouring coffee. She looked tired, her hair in a messy bun, half asleep in her robe. "Mom," Emily said carefully, "do we ever have a baby in the family who, passed away?" Her mom froze. "What?" Emily hesitated. "Like, maybe before I was born?" Her mom slowly turned to her, a strange look in her eyes. "Why would you ask something like that?" Emily's throat tightened. She didn't know how to say it without sounding crazy. I found something. At school." Her mom put the coffee down. "What kind of something?" Emily pulled out the tissue paper, unwrapped it, and placed the bracelet on the counter. Her mom's face went pale. She didn't move for a long moment. Then she reached out and picked it up, like she was holding a ghost. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. "It fell out of an old radio at school," Emily said. "Why? Do you know it?" Her mom's eyes filled with tears before she could blink them away. "Emily, this bracelet belonged to your sister." Emily's stomach dropped. My what?" Her mom closed her eyes. "You had an older sister. Her name was Rose. She died when she was just a baby." Emily stared, her brain trying to keep up, You never told me. Her mom wiped her eyes. You were too little. I thought it was better you didn't know. How did she? Emily stopped herself. How did this bracelet end up at school? Her mom shook her head. It can't be. We buried it with her. Emily's knees went weak. You buried this with Rose? Her mom nodded slowly. Yes, that was the last thing we placed in the casket. For a second, neither of them spoke. The house felt too still. Then the radio on the kitchen counter, one they barely used, crackled to life. Static. Emily and her mom both turned to look. The sound was faint but growing stronger. Through the static, a baby started to cry. Her mom's face drained of color. Emily, she whispered. Turn it off. Emily stepped forward, hand shaking. But before she could reach the dial, a soft voice came through. It wasn't a baby this time. It was a child. Mommy? The mug slipped from her mom's hand and shattered on the floor. The voice continued. Why did you leave me in the ground? Emily backed away. Mom, what is this? Her mom was trembling, eyes wide with shock. That's Rose's voice. The radio clicked off by itself. And then silence. Emily's mom sank to her knees, staring at the spot where the radio Saturday. I used to record her when she was a baby, she whispered. Her first words, her laugh, but all those tapes were lost in the flood years ago. Emily swallowed hard. Then how? Her mom shook her head. It doesn't make sense. Unless... She stopped, her eyes darting toward the window. The curtains were fluttering even though the window was closed. Unless what? Emily asked, her voice shaking. Her mom whispered, almost afraid to say it out loud. Unless she never really left. That night, Emily dreamed again. She was standing in a crib, looking out through wooden bars. Her hands were tiny. The room was dim and blue, filled with moonlight. In the corner stood a baby mobile, spinning slowly, the music box inside it creaking with every turn. She could hear her crying. Then a whisper floated from somewhere behind her. You can hear me now. Emily turned. In the corner of the nursery stood a small figure, pale, with wide eyes and a soft glow around her. She looked about 3 years old. Her hair was the same shade as Emily's. Rose. Emily whispered. The little girl nodded. You forgot me, she said softly. But I didn't forget you. Then her smile faded and her eyes darkened. But they made me stay. The room started to spin. The crib bars twisted and stretched, and the baby mobile's tune slowed until it became a deep, haunting hum. Rose tilted her head. Now it's your turn to stay. Emily jolted awake, gasping. Her room was pitch black, but the air felt different, heavy. From somewhere downstairs, faint and distant, came the sound of a radio turning on. The static grew louder, and then the sound of a baby crying. But this time, it was coming from inside the house.